So if you thought the last panel was the celebrity panel, this one is the real celebrity panel, I'll have you know.
That was a very good-looking panel.
Yes, you
I mean,
guys are
this
also,
one as well.
you guys really leveled up today. Sandra, you always look amazing, but the rest of you guys leveled up, so thank you. So again, my name is Neej. I'm Zeta's Chief Data Officer. Really enjoyed doing the keynote with Chris earlier, but we're here to talk about a piece of it today around a topic that is near and dear to my heart. But before we get there, we're going to start off with something that's a little bit more fun. So first, I'm going to go right to more right, and we're going to have everyone introduce themselves. And my question to kick us off here is, what is the last thing you measured either professionally or personally that mattered in your life?
Oh, God. First of all, it's not cool to add questions.
I know.
You never told us about
but
before
this question
panel.
has no
relevance. We are
relevance.
professional panelists, and it's very important to us.
This question has no relevance to the panel. This is just an icebreaker.
I just want to say one thank you to Zeta for having us. My name is Adam. I'm an OG Zeta Live. I was on the first one when there's a bunch of us. I was last year here when Shaquille O'Neal came. And I think Tom Brady is here today. So basically, my 8-year-old now is at a point when he's asking David Steinberg for invitations for this event.
Yes.
So thank you for having us. I am measuring Lego building. I'm building Legos every day with my kid. I have a Lego room. We moved from the West Village to Tenafly, New Jersey, which is the new West Village. And when you move to suburbia, you get more space. And you can fulfill all your dream as a kid. And so I have a Lego room now, and I measure Lego blocks.
Amazing. It sounds like it's an amazing aspiration for you and your child to do together.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, another Adam.
Another Adam. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is a pleasure to be here today. My latest thing that I've measured, it's a good question, but I think it's actually my son's height. I'm a whopping 5'5.5". He's a 13-year-old boy with basketball dreams and aspirations. I was actually just sitting upstairs with Shane Battier. My son already is 5'6", and he's trying out for his basketball team, and I think he's going to have me by a few inches.
And did you get any tips from Shane while we were up there?
You know, this panel interrupted the conversation.
Okay.
So
maybe we can go back. Sandra. Wait, Adam, did you say where you work and introduce yourself?
Oh, I apologize. I see that it's on the screen. I'm the president at BrainLabs. Absolute pleasure to be here.
Amazing.
I thought I was going to be the only one talking about kids, but you guys beat me to it. Last thing I measured was my son's temperature this morning to see if I could make the panel. He's now with a babysitter and has a little bit of a fever, but that was the last thing I measured.
Okay, that sounds important, and so thank you for coming. And Sandra, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Oh, I'm a professor at Columbia Business School, upstate, really kind of Upper West Side, in New York, with a background in psychology and computer science.
Amazing.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tim Barnes. I'm the GM of the AdTech and MarTech vertical at AWS. I think the last thing I was measuring, we're doing a home renovation, and anybody who's ever gone through that process knows that there's a gazillion decisions that have to be made. And this morning, I got a call at 7:30. I was sleeping in a little bit, and they desperately wanted to know whether the width of the vertical of a wainscoting should be 2 inches or 2.5 inches.
Yes.
So that's what I was frantically trying to find a tape measure to figure out which one it should be. I went with 2.5 for the record.
And I mean, I did a remodel of my house. You're giving me PTSD right now, so.
Yeah.
But Tim, did you know that the top 2 things that scare humans, studies show, the first one is renovation, and the second thing is public speaking, both of which you're doing today.
And we had Heather on.
I'm just suggesting this is a scary day for you.
Yeah, it is. I'm a little nervous, to be honest.
If you need therapy, you have a psychologist right next to you.
Okay.
But
available.
He works at a little
Can we turn
company
this
called,
into a circle and just talk amongst ourselves?
a little company called AWS, so he might have gotten some practice along the way, you think?
Perhaps.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've heard of you guys.
Yeah.
All right. So today, we are actually here to talk about the new ROI. I know it's not as interesting as some of the measurement we just talked about. And we're going to talk about attribution. And really, we're going to talk about outcomes, not just attribution. So in today's world, and How many of you are marketers? Just by a show of hands, so I can see who's in the room. Amazing. We know that your CFOs demand proof, they demand trust, and we know that AI is rewriting what is possible. You all probably saw the Athena demo. We think Zeta is leading the charge in that realm. So first question I had for the panel is, and this is somewhat rhetorical, but I do want your honest opinion and how you think of it. Does attribution still matter in the 2025, and who really needs convincing? Is it the CFO or the consumer? Adam S., I'm going to start with you. And the question, or the sub-question, would be, why is performance advertising important in this outcomes era? Maybe you can speak to Taboola and how you guys view it.
So, one, I think, in general, you hear a lot about performance advertising in this industry. And the reason is, kind of like, if we go back from the pandemic, the recession, you have wars, there's like so much going on in the world. And the first thing marketers stop is brand advertising when there's uncertainty. When they don't know what's going to happen, the first thing they stop is top of the funnel when it's just not sure how tomorrow is going to look like. And the thing they never stop is the oxygen that drives sales and growth to their business. And that is performance advertising, that's outcome, that's attribution, that's measurement. It's all the things that make us as marketers and us as companies, the American dream to drive sales, to drive growth. Small businesses to big businesses. So right now, you're seeing this huge shift in the industry to outcomes-driven marketing to make sure that a $20 in generate $40 out. So I do think attribution is a big deal. However, I will divide the industry to kind of two, if we can be a little bit provocative, which we have to. So there's like two types of advertising companies. You have kind of like closed system, walled garden types, Google, Facebook, Amazon, a little bit Taboola, when basically they have supply, demand, and data in the middle. So they control the entire journey of the consumer. They have embedded advantage. When Google says this is what we think happened, you can argue with them. You can have your own attribution model that suggests you think otherwise. But I'm guessing you're not going to give them less money because it's a must-buy, and they're good at this, and you're going to continue to work with them. And then you have other types of companies that are either supply or demand side. And then they have less control over their conversion. They're a bit more removed from the client. And here marketers have to come up with a bit more complicated attribution models, MMMs and different things, first view, last view, all those things. So I think this is where it gets a bit more complicated for marketers to come up with different things. Our approach at Taboola is primarily transparency. We want to tell clients if it doesn't work, where it failed, and then try to work with them on how we can improve it, which publishers drive success, which publishers did not. So for us, in this crazy kind of complicated world, we believe transparency and trust building is the way to go.
Are you seeing more and more of your advertisers asking for closed-loop attribution from you?
With us, we know we are a little bit of a small walled garden.
Yes.
Because we have our own publishers and our own advertisers.
Yes.
So we're fortunate that we get to report what we think was the price of a client. So, with us, it's less about attribution models in the back of Taboola because we can show them what happens when they work with us. But we're trying to lean in and help them take a more holistic view about attribution across other channels that
So
maybe
open web
with.
channels,
Yeah.
display, CTV, those all can come into the picture. So this lends me to my next question, which is for you, Tim. At AWS, you support multiple ecosystems. And for you, you have a view of attribution because you have ground truth data in your environments. So what are you seeing as the biggest challenge that advertisers are facing in your world? And what is the problem statement they come to you with that you work to solve?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious answer there is multi-channel or cross-channel attribution, trying to find identifiers that can connect a marketing effort on one channel and another channel to outcomes. And to Adam's point, very few companies have that end-to-end model to actually tie it through to the ROI or the sale on the back end. So that's the number one, of course. And the way we've approached that at AWS is to partner with companies like Amazon Ads, for example, who are taking unique approaches, in my view, to do that. So whether that's using clean room technology to help join the data in the first place and figure out, without necessarily sharing the data, what's happening between two channels, or whether it's using large volumes of data that might exist within a closed ecosystem, anonymizing and bringing that data together into segment-based or less than granular data, and then making that data available to publishers and to brands in a way that they can actually model and execute against that and get some ROI. So we're seeing that sort of effect as well.
Who brings the identity graph to the AWS environment in that example? Is it the customer? Is it partners you have?
It would be a combination in that example.
Okay.
It'd be between if you're talking about the buy side, of course,
Yeah.
it would be whatever customers you might have in that. And using the Amazon Ads example, they have a product they call Amazon Marketing Cloud, which would be a clean room to join that first-party data from the brand advertiser through to the Amazon consumer data in an aggregate way that could help facilitate that execution.
Perhaps an extension of our Zeta Media Engine coming soon with AWS.
Absolutely.
We'd love to do it. I'm going to ask Adam P. a question, and this is from the agency perspective. What are you at BrainLabs being asked to do to prove attribution most commonly? Is it around closed loop? Is it around top of funnel? Does it depend on the type of client? What's happening in your world?
So the answer is both. We are being asked to obviously make our clients' dollars work as hard as possible, and the way of measurement and how we're measuring really is tailored around what the client's ultimate outcomes are and how we're going to do that most effectively for them. A lot of what we're working on is within the walled gardens, which is a more closed environment, and the data and the information we get isn't as easy and seamless as it is in the open environment. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make every single dollar work as hard as possible and drive an ultimate outcome. You know, we do a very good job through building bespoke models for our clients, but also working with Zeta inside of your technology to really understand what media channels are most effective and how are we driving their business forward. So we are using multiple types of measurement approaches, but ultimately we're customizing these around the client's given KPIs.
Do you view the CFO as a stakeholder in what you're doing?
You know, the CFO is, I'm not going to say the ultimate stakeholder, but they are part of the influence of getting things over the line and making sure that campaigns are approved and dollars are being invested in the marketplace.
It makes sense. And I think we're seeing more and more CFO conversations at Zeta as well. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and I want to flip this coin to the other side. So Sandra, from the consumer's perspective, should they even care how effectiveness is measured? What is the consumer's role in all of this, and how do they factor into the attribution puzzle we're talking about today? From your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think consumers necessarily care about attribution itself, right?
Yep.
This panel wouldn't be a consumer magnet,
Yep.
I have to say. But what they do care about is the functions that attribution enables. Right? If you think about consumer experience, that's a direct function of what companies are optimizing for, which again is then a direct function of what you can measure accurately. And for me, this focus on like these very short-term metrics like clicks, conversions, return on investment just creates a couple of problems for consumers because you don't see the entire kind of person behind it. If you think about just clicks, did someone click on an ad, you cannot really distinguish if that was a click that's like a meh, yeah, it was good enough, or it was like a mind-blowing, you just gave me an amazing experience that I maybe would have not had otherwise. So if you want to really get to this world where you can distinguish between a meh and mind-blowing, you need a lot more. Right? You need to know, did they come back? Did they maybe talk about it? Maybe they reported back to you that they had a fantastic experience. So there's like, from a consumer experience side, there's a lot that you can gain by having better attribution across different channels over time. And the second part, and that's something that I've been thinking a lot about and I've been doing increasingly research on, is this idea that short-term metrics are, in a way, making people really boring. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of showing you more and more of the same because it's safe. It's, yeah, maybe people are going to click on it, but it doesn't necessarily show you more of the world that you haven't seen. That's kind of interesting and relevant, but it's outside of what we would typically recommend. And so, and you actually see this in Gen Z. So there's like, I recently saw a study being published that said that over 40% of Gen Z kids said that they abandoned a brand because they were just bored. And I think the boredom comes from us optimizing oftentimes for these short-term metrics without really thinking about how do we help people become interesting, stay interesting, explore more of the world. So for me, that's the really interesting part if we think about attribution more broadly and going beyond these short-term engagement metrics.
Yeah, so from on that same point, from a behavioral science perspective, interested to understand how you think about consumer trust and how the interaction of trust intersects with attribution. Obviously, I think your key point there was that no two clicks are equal, no two conversions are equal necessarily, because the halo effect of your impression on that consumer could be very different, right? So, but how does trust factor into this? How should trust be modeled into attribution if it's going to be modeled? That's something I think we haven't really tackled yet as an industry.
I mean, it's super interesting because it's not, to consumers, it's not obvious whether that happens behind walled gardens, whether that's an open system, right? What matters from consumers, what's visible to them is the experience that they get, is like, do you actually create value for me in the process? And the more value you create, the more I'm also able to tolerate that, yeah, maybe this was all based on some of the data that I generated. So I think that's the question that companies have to ask when it comes to consumer trust, because it's not just transparency, it's not just and this idea of like helping people understand what's happening, but it's the second part that we know is predictive of trust, and that's the benevolence part, is do I think that you're using data or your system's AI in a way that also benefits me? And I think that's what is visible to consumers, much more so than what happens behind the scenes.
To give an example, I mean, the same campaign could run on, let's say, Taboola, Amazon, Zeta, Instagram, and feel great about it. It feels relevant. In fact, sometimes the ads are so good on Instagram, you feel like you would give them $1 subscription a month just to see more ads. and that's relevance. And I think and the same campaign could run on the wrong type of advertising company that would just show it at the wrong time. And the user would either not interact with it or click on it by mistake or have a bad experience. So I think AI and attribution and all those things eventually translate into also, trust and relevance, and then eventually create a good experience versus not.
So, Adam, I think this is for you again, since that was a great answer and a great contribution. I'm curious as to your opinion. I think you're the contrarian on the panel. I appreciate that. Are we building more black boxes that are just fancier, or are we actually getting to the heart of what drives a consumer to take an action through these new models and AI and all the emerging things you're seeing?
You mean if we're building more closed systems?
Yeah, like today, on stage earlier today, I talked about attribution across open web and closed garden, and I talked about how we can start to stitch it together. There's new models, there are fancier black boxes, there's AI approaches to it. Are we getting to the root of what actually is driving value for the consumer and for the marketer?
No. So I think so. If you believe that there's any work you can do in the back end from an attribution perspective, modeling perspective, that will affect how good a closed system like a Google or a Facebook or any other one is, I think you're emotional. These guys have an unbelievable amount of great data and distribution, which is the only thing that matters. AI is commodity. All of us here can download Llama today, and all of us can name it anything we want. DeepSeek, Adam, Llama, whatever, it doesn't matter. So AI is an open source commodity. We can all have it. Those days of just developing that model are gone. It's in the past. So the only thing that differentiates between complete winners that grow 25, 30% every quarter and win the market to losers is those who have unique access to data and distribution that allows them to build something fantastic. I feel like a lot of times at these events and in my industry, in our industry, people use AI too easily.
Yep.
I almost feel like it's like Peter Pan. Every time you say AI, a fairy dies. And the truth is that this is not what's going to make an impact. At the end of the day, companies like Zeta, Taboola, Amazon, agencies, clients, we're all seeking that unique edge, that one up, which is primarily something I know that you don't.
Yeah, it has to come from data.
Then you can build all the complicated stuff that only Sandra can do, and build a great company.
Yep. I think that's a good answer. I think data is definitely, and yesterday I was in Investor Day. We talk a lot about data as being the moat. So depending on the flavor and the season, sometimes it's the thorn in your side, sometimes it's the moat. This chapter, data is certainly looking like the moat. But outside of data, Tim, for you, since Amazon sits at the center of so much of this, what other innovations are you seeing that are being used to mitigate attribution gaps or in open environments? What technologies are emerging that you guys are on the forefront of?
Before I answer, I want to double down on something Adam said around the importance of creative. And I think that oftentimes gets understated when we think about attribution, especially in performance marketing versus brand advertising. It's all about driving through it to a click or a conversion or that sort of thing. But the power of creative oftentimes gets undersold in that, and the value that that brings to the consumer experience and actually the brand building and brand relationships. I just want to throw that out there. But I think the answer to your question is that, look, AI is going to bring an amazing amount of new technology to bear, specifically around things like syndicated audiences or audiences that are basically pulled from. Sorry, take a step back. In the past, we'd call it lookalike modeling, or we would do some sort of attribution to say, hey, we've got this small sample set. Maybe that small sample set achieved an outcome we wanted. Let's look for more people who look like that. I think that's an okay methodology, but applying AI on top of that is going to give us an amazing ability to sort of actually amplify and look for elements, attributes, and other sorts of things that we know about a consumer through the profile that might have been missed in the past and can be brought to bear. I think when you amplify those with great creative and the tools that will come from AI to help with very, very tailored hyper-personalization, I think you're going to see a pretty good sea change in how we think about the effectiveness of campaigns and the measurement.
I think creative is also the bridge between what we're talking about here to the consumer, because creative is really built to resonate. I was asked yesterday, in one word, describe the future of marketing, and I said, ironically, I think the future of marketing is human, and more human than it is today. And it's because of AI, but it's also because the creativity involved in the AI is going to get so much stronger. Adam P., question for you. This is an interesting one that comes up. When you have partners that present attribution models that conflict with each other. So let's say you're working with Zeta, you're working with someone else on behalf of a client, and we show you similar reports, but with a very different reporting. How do you guys think about resolving that internally?
Well, within our agency, we really take a scientific method to how we manage our campaigns and how we manage our clients' investments. The scientific method really is about testing and learning and trying all different methods and all different kinds of approaches with various partners. We have a very deep relationship with Google as well as with Meta, but also with Zeta and other partners. But the truth is, it's not just one partner that we're trying to go all in on. So when we're seeing different solutions from different partners, we are going to test and learn quickly and then scale up the ones that we believe in or the ones that we collectively believe in are proving out with the best possible answers or results. So for us, it's about trying as many different solutions and then scaling up quickly, not going in and investing one thing. We don't really believe in that advertisers and brands need to be going in with one big idea. It's not that kind of marketplace anywhere else. It's not that kind of world anymore. It's not about that one big idea. It's about testing and doing variations and rapid testing to be able to scale up quickly in a marketplace that's ever changing with new technologies, new consumer habits, things that need to be addressed. You have to be able to move quick.
I like the answer. So we have about a minute left. I'm going to give you the same question I was asked yesterday. So I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. In a world where attribution actually is much better, what is the future of marketing? What word would you pick? And maybe we'll start with you, Adam, if you don't mind.
I like your human direction. I think relationship and trust will be even more important over time. I think there's like so much automation, so much AI. You know how right now, I believe these services in the future will be like us looking for organic food. We're going to look for that trust and authenticity and something we can relate to and connect to more than ever in the future. I think we're just going to get very crowded and very noisy. So I would say emotion, trust, relationship.
Amazing.
The one word is adaptive. I think you have to be able to move quick, make quick decisions based on data and informed testing, and be able to scale up quickly what works.
You stole my human, so I'm going to go with relational.
I love it.
I'll say automated. I love what you presented this morning with respect to Athena and some of the tools that Zeta is building. I think the future is leveraging agentic AI to really understand what's resonating with customers and to very, very quickly pivot and optimize towards acceptable and great experiences with the consumer.
Thank you. Let's give the celebrity panel a big round of applause.